the seeds don't produce, ground produces. So if you don't do what you're supposed to do with the 25, you may never get to 26. Are you with me? Because you're not faithful over what you have. And so now, what's most important about your spiritual health is not how other people see you and what they perceive you to be, but how you see yourself. Self-perception is the perception that God gives you about you. And you will preach out of your concentric circle or out of who you are. If you feel bad about you, you're going to preach a feel-bad ministry.
That's the truth.
You know?
That's right.
So you really can't preach what other folk may think about you. You must begin to think good about yourself. I would not be where I am in our fellowship if I didn't think I could do what it is I can do. And every job I had a bunch of them. I was a district overseer. When Full Gospel got started, wasn't no Full Gospel, wasn't no model. I became the first district overseer. I had 26 churches. I had more churches in my district than they had in the rest of the state. They recognized that and made me a regional general overseer of district overseers out in the West Coast. I had 2 regions in the West Coast, and became general overseer of the year. So then they said, we're going to put this guy over fellowship assistant, which is helping other churches. I over that. I seem to do good. They said, we're going to add to your responsibility emerging churches. And that was really what my heart is. So an old friend of mine once told me this. His name was John Trotman. He used to pastor in Cornerstone in Elizabeth City. He went on to be with the Lord. He told me one time, he said, a small man would take something big and break it down to where he can handle it. And he said, a big man will take something small and build it up to where he is. That's right. You know. So when you're dealing with the small church, like, and I do some administration, you don't staff, you don't create a flow chart around where you are. You create a flow chart around your vision, and then you staff at the top.
Explain that.
Huh?
Explain it.
Okay, let's say you got a flow chart, and you have this your pastor, your executive group, and you have music ministry over here, and all your choirs, mission ministry over here, and you have a bunch of stuff up under it. Education ministry here. You got Sunday school, new membership class, all this like that. You got what over here? You got
That's big enough, Jack. Go ahead.
That's enough. Okay. Wait. Because you got to have operations over here.
Okay.
Over here. But, you know, you have people in hospitality and all that
Okay,
stuff. But the point is, you stack the top. You put people in the first 5 positions, and they actually holding down everything else. But then as you get people, you step down. So you don't have to keep changing your chart every time you get new people. Make the chart the first chart for everything you want to feel as you grow. And then you staff the top.
Got it.
And when you do that, sometimes you end up with square heads, square pegs, and round holes. And so you don't give anybody that position. You don't say you are this. You just say, I want you to do this.
Right.
Oh, wow.
That's good.
You see what I'm saying? So when you get the round hole, the round peg, you're able to move them and say, I need you to do something else now. And then you can put the round hole in the round peg in the round hole.
Right.
Good gracious.
And this is from something I did in March, down in Charlotte for our fellowship. You know, the greatest fighter probably of all time, arguably, is Muhammad Ali. Greatest fighter of all time. And I thought about his career and his 3 hardest fights. You know who his 3 hardest fights were against?
Joe Frazier.
Joe Frazier.
Yeah.
His 3 hardest fights were against Joe Frazier. Now, the issue is this: that his 3 classic fights were against a person who was much smaller than him and had less arm span than him. Slower than him, smaller than him, had less arm span than him. So the issue here is that you may not win all the time, but size will not stop you from putting up a tremendous effort. Now, if you look at the 3 fights, 15 rounds apiece, he won 2 fights, and some people say he lost the fight in New York. But if you look at the rounds, the 45 rounds, they're almost even. They're almost even. Like, they're almost even. 45 divided by, they're almost like 22 rounds apiece. He barely won the fights he won. How is that? What happened? Here's a man that cannot grow quantitatively. He can't get bigger. He can't get more arm span. What did he do? He learned to work his size. Joe got quality out of his size.
Smoking Joe.
There are 2 ways in which a church can grow. One is quantitatively, and the other is qualitatively. Now, if I got 50 members, and I got 15 of them tithing, if I can double my tithers and get 30 tithers, I now can do twice as much ministry with not getting one more person. Ministry is not about numbers, it's about capability. It's not about your size as a church, it's about your reach. You know, I pastor, y'all know I pastor. I'm over in Zuni, but everybody in the full gospel knows Zuni. Folk around the world know Zuni because our reach is much bigger than our size.
Reach bigger than
You look at Jesus. When you look at where he went, he didn't travel within maybe a 50, 100-mile radius, but look at where his reach went. Other thing I want to tell you is this. Size, lack of size won't stop you from gaining ground, won't stop you from winning rounds, won't stop you from winning fights. We're learning the same lesson over and over and over. God teaches us this lesson. We're learning it with Golden State. We're learning it. Now everybody's trying to adjust to small ball.
That's right.
Yep. Used to be taught you had to have a big man. That was it. Get you a big man in the center. Everything worked through him. Now that stopped when Jordan came along. He's the one that stopped it. He really started small ball. That's why their coach is Steve Kerr. So size is not the issue. Now, in the pamphlet that I gave you all, there's a bunch of things here. The first page is an article that I wrote for the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship, Small Churches Making Big Impact for the Kingdom. We talked a little bit about that earlier, Pastor Riddick, when I said that there's no organization today, no convention that would be successful without the success of a small church. Because if you're not successful in the little hamlet which your church is, you can't afford to pay for an airplane ticket, pay for a hotel room, give offerings, and pay registrations for a conference. You got to be successful where you are to do that. And the vast majority of organizations that are supported by small churches. That's who supports them. That's who makes them successful. If you start thinking around, you look around now at the Church of God in Christ churches, just in the general area, the big churches, or maybe in Norfolk, maybe 1 or 2 of them, but there are probably 30 or 40 small Church of God in Christ churches in that same city. Same thing with Baptist churches. In Norfolk, wherever you go to Hampton Conference, Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship, any of them, it is the small church that is supporting those conventions and making them successful. Everybody that comes to Hampton, what is the registration? $200?
$150, yes, sir.
$200. So the guy, and here's the other thing I can talk about. The level of contribution of the small church is much larger than the level of contribution of the large church. Because $200 for you is a whole lot more than $200 for your day.
Right.
And, and I'm saying, and there are a whole lot of people that go there who have churches much bigger than your day. So if you got, let's say you had 200 members, I don't know what you have, that'd be $1 per member for you.
Right.
Now somebody got 20,000, that's a dime per member for him. So are you see what I'm saying? So you can't downplay yourself when the level of your contribution is so high.
That's good.
And when you understand that, then you can understand what you bring to conventions and conferences, because the level. And when you understand how Jesus does things, he does it by what you give based upon what you have to give. That's why he said the lady, the widow with Mike, gave the most. He said all of these rich men over here, they probably dropped in big money, but it was a smaller percentage of what they had. She put in 100%. The quality of her gift was pure. That's how Jesus measures stuff. And when we begin to measure things that way, we can begin to think well of ourselves. And begin to think well of what we're doing. Are you with me? Now, there's a bunch of stuff over here on this page here. I don't know how much I want to go over. Because some of it's in my book. Some of it's in my book. Some of it's in my book. And the bottom line is that when Jesus said, "Come, let us pass over to the other side," the Bible says when they sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship. That's what the Bible says. And when they sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship. And then it says, and there were other little ships. And when I preached that passage, the Lord said to me, and I've heard so many preachers preach it, but I never heard anybody talk about the other little ships. And he said to me, you really can't do a workup of this passage unless you ask the question, what about the other little ships?
That's good luck.
And I saw it, and I began to understand that they're in the same situation, in the same sea, headed for the same destination, with the same Savior, and it all would have got destroyed unless Jesus fixed everything for the sea, and that helped everybody. And so when you consider, when you talk about the small church, you are talking about, I believe you're talking about the other little ships. I was in St. Louis preaching for a guy, and I was preaching a guy's anniversary, and I was talking about the other little ships. And when I finished, a guy jumped up and said, "Yeah, but me and so we're gonna be on the big ship." He missed the whole point. It doesn't really matter what size ship you're on. You're not going anywhere unless Jesus calms the water.
Amen.
He does the same thing for all the ships. And that's what makes us the same.
That's right.
All right. So, and that's something you got to understand. Now, the God of the large is the God of the small, and this is something that you asked me about, Pastor. The God of the urban is also the God of the rural. The God of the urban is also the God of the rural. Now, oftentimes our expectations are lowered by the circumstances we find ourselves in, and that should never be, because the God of the urban is the God of the rural, which means that whatever God can do in the city, He can also do in the country. But our problem is we tend to believe in the country He cannot do what He does in the city. You see what I'm saying? And this is what causes us problems in how we approach ministry and how we do ministry. Now, I put something out in my daily blog the other day, which was really a reprint of something that the Lord showed me years ago, and that is that God will never meet you above your level of expectation. He will never meet you. If this is the highest point possible where God is, and the floor is the lowest point where we are, then God can meet us anywhere in between. But He'll never meet us above our level of expectation. The whole issue of Peter walking on the water was he expected to walk. He asked the Lord, "Bid me to come where you are." The Lord only said, "Come." He expected to walk. Now listen, he expected to walk above what was rocking his boat before he got out the boat. And here's the other issue. And what you got to really understand, and most folks miss that, this is dealing with the small, is that they think that he began to sink because he took his eyes off of Jesus. That's not the truth. He began to sink because he began to expect to sink. Nothing changed in the atmosphere. It was always, the wind was blowing when he asked to get out of the boat. That was the whole issue, wasn't it? Let me get out of this rocky boat. He got out, and he if that's you, let me come where you are. God will never meet you above. When you expect to walk, you'll walk. But when you begin to expect to slip, you'll slip. We live by our expectations. So the church in the rural has to understand that the God of the urban is also the God of the rural. And if you want to have the same expectations in the rural as you have in the urban. Same expectations. That's why the Lord allowed us to, we broadcasted for 3 years on TCT internationally from Zulu. Which means we had to get broadcast lighting. In the rural. But we expected to do it. And we did it. So what we have to do as small churches is raise our expectations of what it is that we can do. Okay. I'll talk about that. Okay. Over on page 3, this some else. In the military, and I worked for the military for a bunch of years, and we help what's called combat multipliers. And combat multipliers, when the Army's force began to get small, they said and the basic goal of the Army is to kill. That's what the Army does, to kill. We can make it. We don't say defend. No, the Army kills. That's what they do. How will you defend? By killing. So when the force began to get smaller, they said we got to figure a way to be able to kill more people with less. That's called combat multipliers. I get a grenade. One guy throw the grenade, I can kill 25 people. I get a rocket launcher. One guy, I can kill 1,000 people. Combat multipliers, to be able to do more with less. Well, for me, combat multipliers are automation. Automation. It's a 45-minute drive for me to get to church. I normally come down once or twice a week. But in that 45 minutes, I'm normally on my phone giving directions to the people that work for me as to what I need them to do. I call my administrator saying, I'm on my way to church. When I get there, I need to work on this, and that. So if the smaller you are, the more you got to know how to use what I call combat multipliers. You got to know how to use your stuff. When I'm flying on a plane, I'm doing my sermon work on my tablet, which means you got to have commentaries and stuff like that on your computers and tablets so that you can use them, when you're going. So when you're small and you are the administrator, you got to have a good handle on how to use automation, and you got to get your people, the people who are your main people, up on how to use it, so you can do more with less. You got to learn how to effectively administrate, and that means who to talk to, who to touch when you need to touch them, who will make things happen. Get key people in key places who you know will make things happen. So when you turn your attention to something else, you know what you need to happen is happening behind your back. Because you can't afford for people to be dysfunctional. Because you are you're a small church.
In a congregation size of 250, that's what you're working with as a small church?
I'm working with 250 and below. I'm working all the way down to 25 members.
So let's use the 250 model.
Okay.
About how many key leaders should a small church have at 250 members?
The Army, which again is the most successful organization we ever had, teaches us that the greatest span of control is about 5. You got 5. You may have 12 men in a squad, but you got maybe 5 squads in a platoon, 5 platoons in a company, 5 companies in a battalion, 5 battalions in a brigade.
Really?
Yeah, about 5. Span of 1 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah, and then work down. Let them manage 5.
That's good.
You know,
So do those?
'cause you can keep up. 'Cause you can keep up with 5.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So do those 5 have pretty much an insight on all the departments or operations of the church?
Well, they have insight upon the operation that they have, the area that they have operation over.
Okay.
This is something I learned from the military, and that is not only do you need clearance, you also have to have the need to know. In other words, if you in the choir, if you're an usher, you don't need to know why they're singing that song.
Got it.
One of the things that we miss in the Acts chapter 6 piece, he says, find us 7 men who are full of the Holy Spirit and wisdom and good conduct, who we may appoint over this business. This means they know where their business begins and where it ends. This particular rises. When things get out of control most of the time, it's people out of their category. The deacons ain't over the business. They're over certain business.
Right.
So there's a place where it begins and where it ends. You know, there's an old saying, good fences make good neighbors. Okay. So, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm beyond that. Yeah, about 1 to 5 is a real good working order. And you may, if you have like 5, 6, or 7, whatever, but what you don't want is have a straight line administration where you got 25 people reporting to you. You can't keep up with it. You can't keep up with it. No. You got to use every free method to market when you have a small church. And it's getting more and more available now. Like you can post straight to Facebook on videos. You can post to what I forgot what the other one is. Periscope, straight to Periscope. You can post, and I've seen people with sermons out there. You have to use Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, everything that's free at your disposal to market. You have to use it. And there's some cheap things you can get, like Constant Contact, make flyers and stuff like that, and put it out there. I mean, it's little or no cost to you, but you have to take everything at your disposal. Now, also we have at Tabernacle of Praise, we have a phone app. It's a phone app, and I'll show it to you on my phone for Tabernacle of Praise, and it has our weekly announcements out there on it. People can hit it and it'll play weekly announcements. It has welcome messages. You can set it up where someone comes to your church to visit. You get the information, put it in, and before they get out the door. This is Pastor Sherrod Riddick. Want to just thank you for coming to our church today. We appreciate you. We love you so very, very much. And people can give through it, and a lot of things like that. That's a way as well, because people now, have gone from having the computer to having the phone. The phone's a computer, so you can actually hit them on their pocket and talk to them. That's another way, and because people need to be touched. And it's important that you touch people. Now, on the next page, just a real short thing. I'm not even going to go over that, but you can read it and deal with it. The power of expectation. Hope is desire and expectation, and this deals with the power of expectation. Just some teaching that you can look at and understand that, because it's important that if you're going to be an effective small church, that you raise the expectations of your people as to what they can do. So they don't look around the room and see the numbers and see, we look how few of us it is. The Bible says 1 can put 1,000 to flight, 2 10,000. So my God, if we got 50 people, we can do some damage to the devil's kingdom. That's right. when we understand what we have, and when we get the expectations to have. And the other thing is that we have to raise our expectations raise the expectations of people about giving. Because salvation is free, but ministry costs. Now you know, all my life I've heard black folks say we just as good as white people. Have you ever heard people say that? Now this is what I've seen. I worked for 26 years for the federal government. I worked among many black pastors who had churches. Here's something I have never done: work with a white guy who was pastor. Never. So if we just as good as them, why don't we do as good as them? It's hard for me to understand. I mean, really. I mean, how 40 people can't take care of one man. It's hard for me to understand. It's really hard for me to understand. I mean, 40 people making with low income jobs, making $1,000, making let's see, $10,000 a year, would be putting in $1,000 a time. That's $40,000 right there. And who makes $10,000? Nobody. Most folks making like $20,000. They put in their time $2,000. That's $80,000. Lord have mercy. If you had in there $30,000 or $40,000 in this little 40-member church, they can take care of one man. It's not an issue of whether they can or can't. It's an issue of whether they will or won't.
True.
And there's no pastor who works part-time.
No.
No. You lie about part-time. He's just a part-time pastor, second and fourth. Ain't it down on third Sunday? And see who's going to bury him. See who they expect to bury. See who they call all month long, even though they pay you twice a month. There's no such thing as a part-time pastor. Since we just talking. You know. And to be effective, you got to have somebody working 24/7, 365. To be an effective church.
That's right.
You got to have somebody. You got to have somebody that's focused in on your life. You got to understand the relationship between you and your pastor.
That's right.
Between the sheep. Jesus likens us as sheep. Sheep can do nothing for themselves. The sheep's value is in its wool, and the sheep can't share himself to get the value out of himself. Can't do it. A sheep would be in a ring of fire they can step over and will not step over the fire. If a sheep turns upside down, he can't right side himself because he doesn't have he has to be turned over. If he gets insects in his wood that will kill him, he can't get them out. If he's attacked, he can't fight. Jesus picked the weakest and most inept animals to liken us to.
Wow.
And then said to us, you got to have a shepherd because if you don't, you're going to die. Now, this is free. The whole issue of the cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night was not to protect Israel from something catastrophically that would happen, but literally it was to protect them from the normal atmosphere of the environment they were in. Because the desert is naturally hot by day and naturally cold by night. So you don't need something extraordinary to wipe you out. Just being here.
That's good. That's a good word.
That's why you need coverage.
That's right.
That's good.
And these are things that you have to teach the members of every church, but specifically of the small church. So they will understand the importance. Yes, sir. 5 minutes. All right. Well,
That's good.
my 5 minutes are about up now. In the paperwork I gave you, there's a bunch of chapters. There are chapters in the book. The chapters in the book. Not the size of the fight of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. It's not the size of your ministry. It's the size of the fight in your ministry. You know, and the topic again is more than what you see. It's more than what you see. More than what you see. We have got to understand that what we have is more than what we see, and that God expects us to get the juice out of the grapes. The one thing we cannot tell God is, God, I could not, because I didn't have. God said, I gave you what you were supposed to work with. Some people got 5, some people got 2, some people got 1. But God expects you to make what you have produce. And I want to tell you, it can produce. It can produce. Any questions?
Anyone has books, please.
Any questions? Any questions?
I don't have no question, I just have a comment. Good word.
It's great.
Amen. Wonderful.
If there are no questions, I thought for certain that
How much that book?
they're $10. I thought for sure that Pastor really would have. He has all the questions in there in the form of Good man. Yeah, they're $10 if anybody wants one.
Send one back here. By
I'll
email.
take one.
Is it debit card?
No, I didn't bring my debit card with me.
Just send it.